Hey everybody, welcome to Smashing Game Time. We are two brothers and a special guest that go through gaming's back catalog of yesteryear. I am your host, Nick. To my left, if you're watching us on video, is my brother, Josh.
Nick, that was the weakest Ricardo turn you've had ever.
That was a great fucking Ricardo
That
turn.
was the Limp Bizkit equivalent.
Limp Bizkit put out some pretty good music back in the day, and they had a pretty good Lollapalooza back in 2022 or 2021. They had a good showing. But I digress, because we also have here the creator and founder of Game Chronicles, gaming website that just turned 25 years old this year. Hey everybody, it's Mark Smith.
Hey, and I'm tired.
Aren't we all, Mark?
25 years of 25 years of gaming. Jeez.
Greatest intro of that anyone's ever had for a podcast. Like the greatest opening lines. I love it, Mark. Josh and I, we've said it in the past before. We've been writing reviews for Game Chronicles about two and a half years now. And we've had a great time doing that with Mark. Played a lot of games, reviewed a lot of games, and we thought it'd be great to have Mark on. We're going to talk a little bit about running a gaming website and what that looked like when Mark started back all the way in, was it 1999, Mark?
I officially rebranded in 99. I actually started in 1996, but I don't count those years. So
that makes sense. We'll get into that a little bit later. That'll be fun. But before we do that, hey folks, we've got some housekeeping up top. We've got a website, smashinggametime.com. Go over there and check it out. We've got some guest lists from some guests we've had on the show. So Black Shinobi 956 has a amazing list about his most definitive Rick and Morty episodes on there. We've got a list from JMO, who put together a list about 4 reboots he'd like to see from long dormant series. And then we've also got a list from the wonderful... I'm always blanking on Arnold. It's because I'm working with a guy that sounds like David. David's name, but it's completely different. Hey, David from Gimmicks gave us a list also of the best Apple Plus TV shows to watch with a limited subscription. So go check all those out. Josh also got his list up there finally. Mine has been on there because I do the homework and get it in on time.
Well, hold on. When you tell me, Josh, don't submit it, just let me know when it's done and I'll review it. I feel like you're sabotaging me.
Wait, when it was done, I reviewed it. What are you talking about?
Yeah, and then you said, oh yeah, I'll press it. And then you waited 2 days. Did you do it yet? Yeah, you reviewed it. You had it in your hands. You were playing with it. And then you said, oh, just press submit. That's not how these rules worked when we talked about this.
We are partners. You have autonomy in this. Behave while we have guests on the show. What are you doing?
Oh, this is me well behaved.
This is the perfect time for Mark to be here. We'll talk to him about running a website a little bit later.
And then he'll give up, brought the dirty air from us from not doing our stuff on time or doing things we're supposed to do.
100%.
I'm ready for it.
Hey, we're also doing game diaries over there. That's right. We're at least mine's up. My first one is up. It's just a nice little diary. It's basically a blog. Go check it out. I've had a lot of fun writing those. It's actually helped me in other areas where I'm writing. So go check those out. I enjoy writing them. I hope you enjoy reading them. Hey, we are wherever you get your podcasts. We're on Apple. We're on what's the other one? Spotify. We are also on YouTube. I'm sorry, so much stuff is closing down everywhere. I have no idea what's still around.
Just say wherever you get a podcast.
Wherever you get your podcast.
There you go.
Check them out. Mark is just a trooper. He's like, oh my God, these guys are 110 episodes in and they don't have their shit together. They must have a great editor.
It's only you, Nick. The rest of us have our heads on straight. It's you who doesn't.
So much has changed. Hey, fuck the algorithm. Tell a friend. That's right. Word of mouth is king with this podcast. I just blew out my mic saying that. I don't care. Tell your friends. The computers. No, man. What is this, Skynet? Get out of here, Skynet. Tell your friends that you like this podcast. Or if you have enemies, tell them that you hate it. And maybe they'll come listen and listen to it. I don't know. Fuck. I don't know. I'm rambling now. Hey, Josh.
Yes.
What have you been up to?
All right. So it's been a short week of recording for us, so there hasn't been much of a change. I'm still doing Escape from Tarkov. I'm hating every moment of my life, and yet I'm still doing it. I've still continued my Final Fantasy Pixel Remaster list. I'm still on 2. I'm about halfway through it. Trying to get through all the way to 7, so I can at least be, somewhat prepared for when I actually go back to Remake, which I know I'm running out of time very quickly. And then I picked up Transistor. Was it Sunday? No, we did the recording Saturday. I picked it up Saturday night. I started playing it Sunday. Nick, I don't know how far you are. I'm still heading back to. I just got to the first boss fight. That's where I'm at.
I beat the first boss.
Okay, so we're basically at the same spot.
I think I'm about halfway through. I'm thinking about halfway through the second level. What do you think? What are you thinking so far, there, bub?
I prefer Bastion way more because this one is just it's a little more intricate and it's a little more confusing.
I think, yeah. So I love the way it looks. I think the artwork, it's very, excuse me, it's very anime. And I'm sorry if that pisses anime fans off. They're like, it's not anime. But no, very anime. The talking sword, also very anime of them. I think the talking sword needs to shut the fuck up.
I was waiting at this point for a boyfriend dungeon remark from you. Talking swords and dating at this point, practically.
I'm not there yet with the boyfriend dungeon comparisons. Maybe a few more levels in. I did find it's a slow start. Like the tutorial level just kind of drags. Like I think the turn-based stuff is really cool, but your abilities out the gate kind of suck ass. So you don't really get to see to the extent what using that can do. And then again, the sword will not shut the fuck up. And like you come up to it and he's like, oh. And I get it. They had some success with Bastion with the narrator chiming in, but the narrator had charm. This guy just kind of feels soulless. And maybe that's something that we'll pick up on in the themes later on.
But he's also like a part of the story. He's not like you said, he's not a narrator, so he's not like a third person outside of everything talking about the kid. Where he's the actual in the story.
He's your boyfriend. Yeah. So I mean, I don't think we're spoiling it by saying the game opens with you pulling that sword. I think the sword is called the Transistor, if I'm not mistaken. You pull the sword out of your boyfriend's chest, and your boyfriend's soul has gone into the sword. Josh, you know how so in the game you pass like dead bodies, and they have like little cubes floating above them. They're like. The game does a lot. The game is very up its ass about the tech stuff. Like people are essentially functions.
Yeah.
And I think that's cool. I hope they land it because right now I'm just like, oh, this is so on the nose. Like, but you know what? I thought I was only going to play one cheesy game this week, but apparently I'm playing two cheesy games.
I mean, you're the one who picked it. I said Recore, or I even said Metroid Prime Remastered. Like, come on.
But you know what? That first main level after the tutorial, like once it really opens up and you start picking up those functions and you start finding out that you can like combine functions to do certain things, so you can put one function within another. And I didn't know I was going to be doing math in this game, but I thought that's really fucking cool. Like there's a function, I forget what it's called, where you like. It does like a long line from the blade that attacks enemies from afar, but you get a dash. So if you put the dash in there, that long blade attack doesn't have to charge up. It just happens immediately and it pushes you forward a little bit. So there's cool stuff like that. There's another function where if you press the button, enemies fall in love with you. And if you put that within another function, like, oh, if you put this in your main attack, if you hit an enemy with this attack, they fall in love with you, and then they attack the other enemies. So I think it's really cool for that, and I can't wait to see how the other function, like what other functions I get, and how to combine them. It gets so up its butt, not up its butt, but you can put function within function eventually once you've unlocked them. And then another thing I really like is that when you get a function, you can go and like read about it, and you can actually read about the person that function was before they died.
So I didn't know that part.
I thought that was cool.
Well,
how many personalities have you unlocked so far?
I think the last one I got was the boss. I think she gives you that little like robot dog that you can attack with. And I'm excited to see, because the other game, like I was very confused out of the gate, because if you die, you don't die. You just lose one of your abilities.
Right, and you have to go find the anvil and repair it.
And so essentially you get 4 chances in an encounter. And if you die all 4 times, then you're dead. I haven't like died yet, but I thought it was really confusing, because I was like, wait a minute, where's that power? Because I was in the middle of a fight, didn't realize I died, and then tried to do a power and it was gone. And so I think that's really cool how the game's like, okay, like you didn't die, but we're going to make this a little harder for you because you're an idiot.
Yeah.
and I really like that.
You couldn't do it with all your powers, so we're going
Just
to
some,
take.
yeah.
Yeah. And I don't know if there's like an order that they do it in, or if they're just like, oh, you know what, you use this one the most. You're leaning on this as a crutch, so we're gonna get rid of it. Not 100 on it, but it did seem every time I got a power taken, it was the one I was leaning on the most at the time.
By chance, was it your beam? Or I call it beam blade, but it's the B button one, the one you have to charge up and it
At,
shoots a beam at them.
at first, but then they give you like a scatter shot that like booms and then like spreads a little bit. I was
Yep,
using that
scatter
one a
bomb.
lot, and it was
Yep.
like, no, we're taking your scatter bomb, you little mf'er. It's cheesy, but I'm enjoying it so far. I do think I enjoy Bastion more right now.
Oh
And,
yeah,
and I mean
100% more.
nothing's gonna top Hades unless I hear Pyre's like really fucking good. So I don't know.
How tactical did you get in the that pre-planning stage? Did you like plan your attack and then plan your escape in that same move, or
Oh
So
no,
I
I straight up do straight up attacks. I don't even attempt to escape. It's like, okay, I'm gonna hit you with my blade beam, and then I'm gonna get behind you and backstab you a couple times, and then do a scatter bomb to help me do said retreat.
so what I've started doing is, I mean, I'm first of all I'm spamming that real time button to stop it, just because things get hectic
yeah?
sometimes. But yeah, like 2 or 3 attacks, and then as soon as like those attacks are done, I'm hitting the invisibility I forget what it's called, but the invisibility function to disappear while my bar recharges. And then sometimes it like the timing doesn't work out completely, because then the second time you do your attacks, your invincibility is not recharged. But I kind of want to play around with functions and see if there's something that speeds that process up. I have a feeling like the dash might speed that up or something. I'm excited. I'm excited. I know I
Yeah.
was shit talking like the first few parts of the game, but not to like it's super giant games. I feel like I'm in good hands. I just want I want the sword to shut the fuck up.
It's got a really good new game plus on it too. So when you finish it the first time, you might get sucked back into it. So
Don't tell me that. Don't tell me
Well,
that.
Nick, we should expect that though. We got that at Bastion. Think of that new game plus. That was a fantastic way to do it.
I forgot about their new game plus. I think I did. So like how Bastion does like this distillery where you can make the game harder. I think this game has that too, and I think I accidentally turned one of those on and don't know how to turn it off.
Rookie mistakes.
So I think after this show, I'm going to go back and try to find out what's going on there.
But
Josh,
yeah,
anything else on your docket or anything else that you've been playing?
Well, nothing I've been playing, but I did reach out to Mark after I sent him the show notes yesterday for 2 more games to torture myself with. So we'll see how that goes.
Godspeed,
you
Spider-Man.
you have to admit though that some of your lowest expectations have been some of your favorite games.
Oh, I will agree 100%. Like I still think to this day, Eldoran was probably the one I was like, okay, this looks like it's gonna be fun. It doesn't look that good. I actually went back 100% at it, so I was like, oh man, this is really good. I still think the worst one I did was it City Eyes? That was just awful.
Oh,
Like,
was that the camera one where like you were like the different cameras around the city and like kind of
yep.
policing? I remember seeing that and being like, I feel sorry for whoever's got to do that one.
I'm trying to put my dues, and I'm like, you know what? I want to stay on Mark's good side. I want to make sure that I help out as best I can, and maybe one day I'll get rewarded with a really good review.
Maybe
So
one
yeah, I'll
day.
torture myself. And honestly, that was like pretty much up there as like I don't know if I can do this anymore. This was it reminded me so much of have you ever seen what's it called?
You're really
Oh,
narrowing it down here, Josh.
it's those games. It's the game where you have to like pan from different cameras to see what's going on in the room, and then you have to like
Yes.
observation duty. Basically that's what it reminded me of,
Off the tip of my tongue.
but it was just it was the city version. And instead of like watching for like creepy things, it was you're watching for car fires, building fires, or someone getting robbed. Like that was basically it, and it was just repetitive like that. And it was just like, okay, you would switch, and it wouldn't happen like all of a sudden. Like you would sit there for like a good 15 minutes before anything started happening, and I'm like, does this game actually work? Like, am I doing it wrong? Am I on free roam? What's going on here?
So, Josh, Silver Lining, I think that voxel game you got looks pretty good. That what is that? The Tokyo, it's like a Tokyo mystery. Soul Tolerance Prologue.
Yes,
I remember browsing that one, thinking like, if I can find the time.
I wanted I wanted to grab it sooner, but like we talked about a couple weeks ago, I've already had 2 funerals this year.
Yeah, it's been a start to 2024. That's for
Yeah,
sure.
and so it's like, damn, I'm just trying to catch up and get things going. So I'm like, when I saw it was still there, it's like, you guys screwed up. This is gonna be a good game. I can feel it in my bones.
It was giving me Norco vibes, and I love the hell out of Norco.
Yes, yes.
But I digress, Josh. We've been leaving our guest in the gallows for too long. Mark, what have you been playing?
Mostly VR. I bought a Quest 3.
You
How do you love it?
sick
How
pup.
I
much do you love it?
let me count the ways. Yeah, I sold my Quest 2 the day I got the Quest 3. So, not that the Quest 2 is bad, mind you, but the Quest 3 is just. And then I went back.
Superior.
Oh, it is. This pancake lenses. It's because I went back to play something in PSVR 2 the other day, and I'm like, I can't stand this anymore. The Fresnel, the glow.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, what I've been playing. Top of the list, Demio and Demio Battles. You guys heard of those?
I've done Demio several times. I've never
Okay.
heard of Demio Battles, but I assume it's probably set in that realm.
It's basically it's a subset of the main game, and it's so if you play Demio, you know that it's about a 3-hour game,
Oh yeah.
about an hour per level in the boss fight. So Demio
Yep.
Battles is stripped down to where it's about 20 to 25 minutes, team based. You can have 4 players. Everybody controls a hero, and then you have your little private army of critters. So the couple I played, it's been like spiders versus rats.
Okay.
And then you move around the city map, very similar outlined like in Demio. It's a 3D top down type of thing.
Uh-huh.
And you just move around like the chessboard, and those little critters follow you around. And
Oh, that's cool.
last man standing. And you can, if there's only 2 of you, you can each control 2 heroes with 2 armies. So
Okay, that sounds like a lot of fun.
but you played it in VR then?
Yes, I have played it in VR.
Because I know. So in the Quest 3, they've got it's pass through now.
Ooh.
So it's full color pass throughs. It does drain the battery extra hard though. It's one of the
That's
few
okay.
games because I sit in the chair and I'll have it plugged in. I'll have the headset plugged in, and I played up to 6 hours in a row before on this.
That's impressive.
my
That's impressive.
Until you take the headset off and try to walk across the room and you fall on your face. So because there's a very distinct difference between VR and reality after 6 hours.
I say I can only do 2 before I'm like, okay, I have to like take a step back because if I don't, I may not make it.
Well, and I kind of like that about the Quest 3 because the battery cuts off at 2 hours. I'm like, oh, this is perfect. It's gonna, be my nanny for me. And nope, I plugged that sucker in after I got Demio. And well, the games were longer than the battery life, so you had to do
Uh-huh.
that. But yeah, now how far did you get into Demio as far as the stuff surrounding it? Did you?
I didn't get very far because I was playing with our little brother Matt.
Okay,
So-
so did you even explore the Hero Hangout?
No, I don't think we did the Hero Hangout. No.
So the Hero Hangout is probably one of the coolest things. It's a VR chat room, basically. You create a private lobby, and it's basically a basement, and you invite all your friends into it. You give them the room number, and then they can join in. And it is so cool.
Oh
They've
wait, I do kind of remember that now. I was like, we
There's-
picked it back up right when that came out.
There's a Gauntlet arcade machine
Yep.
you can actually play, and a shooting
Yep.
gallery, and all the monster manuals and the books, and basically all the documentation for the game is in this little clubhouse type thing.
I do remember that now, but I
Okay.
think it was like still early on when they decided to release it, and I was like, oh, this is really cool, and then we quit playing it because something came out. I can't remember what it was.
But I just discovered it in the back room of that hangout. There's a door called the paint lab or paint room or something, and you go in there, and it's all the miniature figures and all the paints, 3 brushes, airbrushes, and it is so precisely mapped to the controllers. You could sit there and meticulously paint
Oh.
miniature figures.
Mark, you've opened up a demon right now. You're talking to the guy who
Yeah.
loves playing like the all the simulator games where you're cleaning stuff. So like that's right up my alley. I would do that for hours.
He's never gonna finish Transistor now.
I'm sorry, but then, like I said, the good thing about Battles is, like I said, those games they're over in 30 minutes, so it's a lot easier to get people to come and play with you, and they only have to, knock out 30 minutes of their schedule rather than the whole evening.
Oh, that sounds perfect.
Yeah, and then I have been playing the new Bulletstorm, which will be out by the time anybody sees this. So it is not as good as I'd hoped. It's basically PlayStation 2 graphics, maybe.
Is this the Bulletstorm from the 360 PS4 era?
It
Just in
is.
VR?
Yeah, it is. Yeah. It's really toned down for VR. And then all the cutscenes, and that's a cutscene heavy game. They're
Uh-huh.
all just flat panels. But
Mm.
what they've done is they have offered them. You have an option in the settings to turn them into 3D, but then it's just like that lenticular 3D where it's just kind of off axis a little bit, so it's not true 3D. Hurts your eyes after a little bit, so I turned it back to 2D. But yeah, Verdict's still out. The cool thing about that though is remember that game had the leash.
Mhm.
Yep.
So you've got two options here. You can either look at the target and hit a button and the leash will automatically go out, or you can look at the target and fling your wrist and whip it back and
Okay,
yank it back.
Did,
So you can
that's
do the
cool.
scorpion, get over here type thing. And
just thinking about it's
so
kind of giving me motion sickness. Because I was gonna ask about that. 'Cause I remember whipping around in that game a lot. Is this from People Can Fly, or did somebody else do this VR
they,
port?
it's from people. Yeah. Well, it's still their proprietary game, but I think they did get help with it.
Good
So yeah.
I can't imagine that game is so fast paced. Like anyone who tells me, because Doom's VR, right? Doom 2016 is in VR.
Yeah.
Yep.
Like anyone who tells me that they're playing those fast paced first person shooters, I'm just like, how are you doing this?
And Doom was, I think, they didn't even have slide motion on that. You had to teleport everywhere in that.
Yep.
But they did have that thing where you could teleport into the enemy and explode them within. So that was the cool thing.
That was
that's
cool.
Great way to lean into it.
Yeah.
Lean into the doomness of it.
Ugh. And then the other one will be out by the time this airs, and Crumbling. And the best way I could describe this is go into your favorite mom and pop hobby shop and you discover these little, well, actually it starts off with a little figure. It's a little puffball character and he's got a sword and arms and legs, and he's in a blister wrap package. So you take him off, and you're actually having to do all this. You take him off the hook, and you actually have to tear him open, and then you can take him over and you can paint him, do whatever you want to him in this little hobby area, and then you take him over and drop him into the game, and it starts these missions, and he's attached to your hand, and you're just waving this character around in the air, and you squeeze the trigger, he'll swing his sword, and then you can get power-ups for it where he'll leave like a toxic trail or whatever. But you're doing all this in 3D space over a diorama of the world, and it's this adorable diorama. It's like porcelain figures and little cardboard trees and stuff set up. But all the enemies come flying in from the air. So you're just basically stabbing in the air with your hand, swinging a sword, drawing trails. You got to look like an idiot if anybody's watching you in the room. But it is absolutely fantastic. And you just keep unlocking the collectibles, and it fills the magic bottle. I wish I had B-roll for it because it's just incredible to see, and I'll probably be live streaming all this stuff later. So
I'm looking at this, and this looks cute. Like it's kind of giving me not Lost Planet, little Big Planet vibes almost.
yeah, very close to that. Yeah.
And this is in V. Oh, okay. Game requires VR headset in order to play.
Yeah.
Okay. Wow. I am liking the look of this.
They've really dug in deep on the whole collectible mentality, because you'll unlock new collectibles. You'll come in, you'll spin the rack. Oh, here's a new one, and he's got different abilities. He might have a spear instead of a sword or something. So
Oh, that's cool.
I think you've sold me on this. I'm not going to buy a VR headset for it, but I think you've sold me on
No,
this game.
don't worry. He's sold me on the Quest 3 already. And I was already on the fence, and I'm like, yeah, let's buy it. I'll go sell my Quest 2. I'll go buy it.
That's why Josh got quiet. He was over there clicking away at buy now.
Hey, I got 15% off right now. If I'm going to do it, now's the time.
Oh, I did some shopping earlier. I spent my birthday money, so I get it. I get it, Josh. Anything else, Mark?
when you do get your Quest headset, and I know both of you will, get Walkabout Mini Golf. I know wasn't on my list, but that's the game. That's the game I play when I'm not playing anything else.
That's fair. That's fair. I like a casual game that I can play every once in a while when I'm like, I need to warm up to it.
They sent me a code for the base game, which came with 8 courses. I played that, and I immediately dropped $42 on the whole bundle that has all the expansion courses. So yeah, don't even delay. And they have a whole bundle offer now. It's like a hole-in-one, I think is what they call it, or something like that. And it's every course out there, and it's every hole has a hidden ball. So there's like a literal Easter egg hunt that you're going to go on. There's 388 balls if you get the whole bundle. So.
Shut up and take my money, Mark. Shut up and take my money.
I've kind of been in a golf mood. I've been playing What the Golf on my phone, and I'm like, oh, Like what's the Golf with Friends or whatever is the popular one on Steam?
And that's what this walkabout mini golf is you bring all your friends in and you just go around playing golf and talking, and it's just a chat room where you're playing golf. And the best thing about it, it's 100% accurate. When you're putting, you're making all the motions, you're swinging one for one like you would if you were really at a golf course,
Oh,
a mini
I love
golf
that.
course.
That
So
sounds so cool.
yeah.
Are you sure you're not getting any money from Meta for coming in here
No,
and
this is
selling?
this is not sponsored by Zuckerberg.
Wait a minute, he's wearing a Meta shirt under that shirt. Oh man, these all sound great. Again, not buying a VR headset, but I'll play with Josh's.
Yes.
Well, hey,
I'll have it
we're
this
sold out at Best Buy, so you couldn't get one even if you wanted one. So
I've
we burned through 23,000 of those since November.
Oh
Oh
wow.
wow,
Yeah.
and that's one location alone.
Well, that was our Midwest warehouse. So that's
Oh,
what was
okay.
up in Chicago. So like I'm not sure how many stores that services, but yeah, we had 23,000 in there just like right before Black Friday. And our stores were wiped out now.
I didn't know we had
Mine's a-
Chicago crossover. I love that.
My Best Buy's in stock, so I'm definitely gonna go buy it.
There you go.
Let's see here. We already talked about Transistor on mine. I'm still playing Prince of Persia. It's a great game. When we're recording this, I think it's still not out officially until the 18th, right?
There was early access if you did the Ubi
Yeah.
Connect Premium thing or whatever, because basically the day we were allowed to post the review was the day the elite people could play it. So
Yeah.
So elite. But hey, they're elite, but they don't own it. You can play it
That's right.
early, but it's not
That's right.
fucking yours. No, I really enjoy that game. I remember like in the early bits, like, like, yeah, it's a Metroidvania. I remember like the first or second boss, I really wasn't vibing with. I was like just running them down, like beating the hell out of them. It was like, man, is this it? Like, is this just like it feels like a simple Metroidvania. And then like after that second boss, like things just ramped up at that point. Like the platforming puzzles got crazy. Josh was watching me play one.
I had to help you because you couldn't figure it out for some odd reason.
The jump and the wall run were crazy, but
Oh,
I got it down, and no, it just like it keeps surprising me. And it's one of those games where like when you complete a puzzle or when you beat a boss, you feel really cool. You feel cool. You feel badass. Like you fight, and I'm trying to avoid spoilers because I know folks will probably just be jumping in right around time this comes out. But the boss, like you fight, fuck it, I'll say it. You fight one of the immortals on the sea, on the high seas, and it's just like this bigger than life moment. Like he's got all these powers that like surprise you, and he's got this move that grabs you and just kind of fucking. It's like a Dragon Ball Z bout where he just beats the shit out of you, and he throws that move at you like repeatedly. And it's just a cool game. It's just a really cool
yeah.
game and a really cool way to open 2024. And I know you've been playing it too. You played it on PS5, right?
PlayStation 5. So are you playing the guided mode or are you doing the insanely difficult mode?
I started the insanely difficult one because I was like, how hard could it be? I can place markers, I'm sure. And then, I got I got an hour in. I was like, I'm just gonna turn on the guided mode. I don't think that'll really change anything. And it shows you like doors that like it'll like display a door where like it knows you can't get through. So it'll be like, hey, you need to go here, but you can't. And then it'll show you like later on when you get a power, it'll pause into your map automatically and show like, oh, hey, this door can open now. So I thought that was really cool, especially
Yeah.
for someone who got lost in Hollow Knight repeatedly. Watching Josh play Dread, I got lost repeatedly and I wasn't even playing the damn game.
I got terribly lost at the beginning of Prince of Persia because one of the first objectives you're supposed to go up in the map, and I went down for whatever reason, gravity or whatever. And I got to an area I had no business being in, but I had no idea that's where I wasn't supposed to be going. So I just repeatedly kept getting my ass kicked down there. And I about rage quit until I turned on the guided mode and I see this big icon up top here that says that's where you need to be going. I'm like,
But you're better
So
off having it
close.
than not having it.
yeah. It's a quality of life feature at this point. So
Yeah. But yeah, Prince of Persia, I mean, it's getting a lot of praise. I mean, I've got a few hiccups with it, but I think universally, like, it deserves to be well loved, even if it's developer slash publisher is like putting its foot in its mouth.
And is it Steam Deck certified?
which baffles me.
Oh no, you can't play it on Steam. Never mind. Oh, oh
Yeah,
boy.
when I got that,
Uh,
not to be a pissy little princess, but when I
oh
got that
man.
code and I was like, oh, it's a Uplay code.
Yeah, I remember that.
Ah,
Yeah. Oh well.
okay.
Do
There's
they
only
plan on releasing it on Steam at all?
it looks like I think it's
They,
like an Epic exclusive. I'm air quoting really hard.
yeah.
Uh,
Ubi's gone back and forth with Steam. We're not making as much money as we should. So yeah, you guys can have us this year, and so it'll be there eventually. But
right.
I opened up Uplay. I only own one other Ubisoft game through Steam. It's one of those games where you download it on Steam, but it opens Uplay, and it was For Honor, and I was just like, so much shame came upon me because For Honor is just it hurts me. It's atrocious. It's bad.
It's not that bad.
It hurts. I'm not that tactical with like okay, when you're this guy, when you're this warrior, you have to do this stance against that warrior when he's doing that stance, and you got to swing the blade right. But I can't.
You don't even have to do that, Nick. You just have to pick the one character that everybody else is going for, the meta at that time. That's all you have to worry about. Just be that and just spam the same attack over
I
and
don't
over.
want to play the meta. I want to play a game where hitting things with a sword feels good. And you know what game does that really well? Prince of Persia: The Lost Crown.
I mean, I want to play a game from them that actually is promised exactly what it's to be. And so far, over the past 10 years, it's only been Prince of Persia.
Uh, I'm fascinated by like the outcry because this trailer premiered back in June for not Next Fest, whatever Jeff Keighley's little thing is, and
game show,
game show and
game awards, yeah.
Oh yeah, he's got all these things. He's got so many things. He's got too many things. And people were like, "That's not my Prince of Persia." Really, really like hemming and hawing about like the change of character and the side-scrolling aspect. Oh, and I imagine a lot of those dumbasses didn't realize like the origin of Prince of Persia and where it came from. I saw that.
1989.
I
Yep.
saw that and it was immediately like, oh, Karateka, Prince of Persia, let's go. And then just to add like the nice little Metroidvania pinch to it.
What's funny is when the Sands of Time came out, the same discussion was being had. Like, you turned my 2D game into a 3D game, so
It's a
just,
vicious cycle that's never
yeah,
going to end.
yeah, it really is.
How's performance? You're playing on PS5?
PS5 and it's flawless. It does the 120 right out of the box. 120. Oh, it's so smooth. It's 1440p, so you can probably drive it a little harder on PC than I can.
I dare not. I dare not. I've had a few games recently that really put this PC to the test. Wink, wink. Alan Wake 2, and I'd rather not have this. If this
I thought you
computer
were going to talk
melts.
about the Mars game, Fort Solace.
Oh, Fort Solace too. Yes.
That
Oh my
crippled you, I
gosh.
thought.
I completely forgot about Fort Solace. You guys realize if the computer goes out, this show is over. We have no other way of doing this.
No, that's not true. I've got a couple spares you could borrow until we build yours back up.
People don't need to know about the spare tires hanging out in the back.
There's a reason they're spares, and there's a reason I have multiple. Okay.
Mark, I am curious. So, how I mentioned this part in the review. How did you feel about like all the notes laying around and the reading, and how do you feel about that with the pacing?
It breaks it up, and I tend not to read them. I start every game like I'm going to read everything, and then by the hour in, I'm like, yeah. I wish they had some way to off-put all that narrative into like an app I could read on my tablet or my phone or something later on. That would be awesome if they just had all that content.
Oh, Mark, you're leading into some dark territory there, though. Didn't Bungie try that before?
Yes.
Yeah.
See,
you always have a codex. Why not make that an app and then you just download it onto your phone?
That's
and
fair.
then you can.
look.
I got plenty of times I can read on my phone, but you don't want to read when you're parkouring through a temple.
Well, and the game is already voice acted. Like, what's a few more dollars for some voice acting, or what's a little more of the AI voice that what's a little more of that as a placeholder until you get a real voice in there. Like,
Nick, did I not mention it? It's Ubisoft. It's all about this.
I know, but it really like. A game where I'm running around exploring, doing all these crazy jumps and all these crazy fights. I'm not trying to stand there and read. I was playing another game I'm going to talk about here in a minute where there were notes, and I was like, what? Why am I reading all these notes? Like, you have this voice actor, have him read it to me. Just do it. Just do it. Come on, it's 2024. All these companies are bragging about how they're making things that are more more inclusive. They're making things more inclusive, and making things readily available for anyone who may have a disadvantage. And shit, read the note to me. Read the 5-paragraph note to me so I can run around. Knock it
Well,
off.
and that's the other big thing is make it so I can run around while I'm listening to that, because there's games like, I think what it was, Doom 3, where you clicked on a log and you had to just sit there and listen to it. You couldn't move around until it was done playing. So
I think
Do-
Fort
do you know-
Solis did the same thing.
Do you know who did
There
a
you
good
go, yeah.
job at where you could still interact with stuff while playing the game? Days Gone.
Shut the fuck up. Shut the fuck up. No more Days Gone. I said no Days Gone in this show, and you
But Nick,
You're
but Nick,
insubordinate.
But Nick, do you see this little speaker right here? I could be being attacked by a horde of zombies, and it'd be playing on this little bad boy for me. And I could hear all the great lore while fighting through zombies and from raiders and everything in between.
some old
you know
town
how
you're,
much-
you're being attacked in some old town country bumpkin's like, Sandra, I don't think I'm gonna make it back to Tennessee this year. The zombie hordes really got me down right now.
do you know how much exposition there was in that game while you were riding the motorcycle?
There
And have
was
you
a-
ever tried to talk to somebody while riding a motorcycle?
It's impossible.
You can't hold casual conversations.
No.
It's like
And
that
they're
scene.
talking at like normal level, like,
Yeah.
yeah, Jimmy, everything's good. No, you'd be screaming, hey, I don't know what you're talking about. Come on, why are we just like normally chatting? I mean, there was times where he did it, but it felt like it was only when there was like a heavy storm or something going on in the background where you would be yelling off at the top of your lungs.
And you're trying to avoid. Why are you riding the loudest thing on earth when you're trying to avoid all these zombie hordes? It reminds me of that scene in Barbarian where, if you guys have seen Barbarian, Justin Long's in it, and he's talking to his Hollywood agent on the phone in his convertible, driving on the highway with the top down, and they're just talking. And like that is the most like that movie has like mutant people and stuff in it, and it's the most unbelievable thing in that movie is him talking on the phone with the top down. Speaking of horror games, I've played the first hour of Those Who Remain. I believe this game came out in 2020. I think it newly released either on Xbox or as a new Game Pass game. I don't know. I saw this pop up in a few places and I was like, oh, new game, I guess. Let's check it out. This is a very corny video game. I know one Mark Smith played this game in full. Just to give you a tidbit of where I'm at, Mark. And a discretionary warning here. There's some suicide talk here. The main character, you're sitting at your desk looking at a lovely picture of what I assume is your character and his wife. And there's bottles and bottles of booze, all the same bottle, all very rendered poorly. And he's sitting there talking about the importance of, loving people while you have them and not taking them for granted. And you're sitting there, you're like, oh, like this dialogue's very bad, but this guy's very sad because his wife is dead. And he's sitting there talking very sad. And then he pulls a gun onto the screen. And you're like, oh, fuck. Okay. He's like, I just got to let it go. I just got to let it go. And then he gets a text. His phone's been down on the desk this whole time. This is a first-person survival game, by the way. And he looks down at his phone. This woman named Diane has texted him and said, hey, I'm at the motel. Come meet me. And he decides not to take his life in that moment. And you're like, okay, like this guy is lonely. He's looking for companionship. And then as he's driving to the motel, he's like, I'm going to call it off. My wife, I can't treat my wife like this anymore. So the wife isn't dead. The wife isn't dead. He's wallowing in a room, looking at a picture, being all sad, drinking himself to death, getting ready to make that decision. And his wife isn't even dead. And the dialogue is just wonky. The graphic, it's very, very early PS3, late PlayStation 2 looking. The mechanics, I don't believe anyone's like chasing you, but you have to stay out of the dark or else these bad guys with these scary eyes take you. Again, very, very low poly. This game opens up on a screen where you have to adjust the lightness. And I had tabbed over to something else while the game was loaded up and tabbed back and had that scary creature looking at me I thought that was cool, and I like the mechanics of avoiding the lights, turning the lights on. Mark, my first impressions aren't the greatest. You've played the entire game. Am I in for a
No,
good
I had
time?
not. I
Oh,
played the first 5.5 hours of it, and then I, I rage quit this game. My first rage quit of 2020, and there's video proof up on the YouTube channel. You can see it. It's two part. The first part I love it. Second part you can see me just like degenerate into this,
well,
great.
it was COVID. It was COVID, so it was trying times already.
But and it was purely bugs and glitches too. I mean, the game itself it's fine. Uh, but there and I don't know if you've gotten to the point yet where some critical items are actually under other items. Have you discovered that yet?
Would that happen to be a fuse that I need for a
Yes. Yeah.
generator?
Oh, hang on. Yes. Yeah. There's that fuse. So yeah.
Well, good to know that I'm going to be like tripping over some, like looking for, because so there, there's early on you enter a house, and there are all these like you have to turn on the light switches because in the
Yep.
dark you can see the guys standing. They're kind of like it's kind of like an invincible wall in the game. If you hit them in the dark, game over. And the game doesn't really communicate that. The game's like having you figure that out on your own. Hell, I think the one that killed me early on had an axe for some reason. And so I'm in this house, I flip a switch, and the cool thing that I enjoyed about that moment was so I'm in the kitchen, I'm in the hall leading to a kitchen, I flip a switch, and then I go into the kitchen and there's another switch, and I'm like, wait a minute. I've lived in houses and I've been in houses where there are two switches that do the same light. Am I about to fuck myself up here? And thankfully I didn't. And then I pulled another switch and then I did. But I like that it's playing with that sense of like space of like, okay, you've been in a house, you know this is the thing. Go ahead, flip that switch, buddy. Go ahead. But now that I'm hearing like stuff is buried, and I mean there are bad notes in this there are bad like there's newspaper clippings and they're either very poorly translated or just very poorly written. It's like a girl died on her bike. We've decided it is an accident. No further
Oof,
reporting needed. Like
that sounds awful.
I'm hacking it up right now, but it's pretty close to that.
Yeah. It's like a bad TV movie of the week type thing where the corrupt sheriff, protecting his. Well, I don't want to give you spoilers here, but I don't know how far you're into it yet. So,
I mean, you could spoil this, and I will be okay.
well, have you done any of the condemning or forgiving yet?
No, no, I just
Okay,
did get to the barn, and I'm working my way through the barn.
that's kind of like your superpower is when you track down all these criminals, bad guys, whatever you want to call them. They have to repent, and then you get to decide whether they go to hell or you forgive them and they can stay. And it can get pretty disturbing.
Is this
I mean,
Can we?
is this
I
made
think you
by
just.
the what's that movie that came out over the summer that was like about like trafficking and has like very religious under is
oh, the sound of or
it,
invisible sound.
Sound of
Yeah, I don't.
Silence or something like it,
Something like that. Yeah.
is this made by the same people? Condemn the sinner or don't.
I was thinking more like, is this Dante's Inferno? Do we get a secret sequel that no one knew about?
No, if it was
But
Dante's Inferno, I'd be enjoying myself.
but it I mean, if you role play it, I was watching my video replay of it today, and it's just like, man, I really got stumped on that because there's like a bully, and he bullied this girl, and she died. But he's really repentant, and he's just sitting there bawling his eyes out, and you just like go to hell. He just spirals into the abyss, and
I
so,
think
but or you could forgive him. So
I
I don't
think
like
you've
bullies, so I didn't forgive him. So,
I'm back in. I'm back in. You've
yeah,
sold me on that alone. Like
yeah, but
I know the dialogue's not gonna be ideal, but like my God.
yeah. And if you're that early on, I mean, there's some cool locations. There's like a diner and a library, the police station if you haven't been there yet. So there's some really cool locations, some really good surprises coming up. So
I was getting like Alan Wake vibe. Like Alan Wake is already like B movie. So like I feel like this is like C movie at the bottom of the Walmart bin, like next to the really bad stuff. So I don't know. Like there's a little piece of me that enjoys the bad. So
there's
maybe.
there's a cool puzzle that you may or may not when you're in the town square and the street lights are flickering and you have to like run from street light to street light to make sure you're always in the light. And if you're out of it for just a second. post.
The
So
only thing that gives me pause is you're like, I was only 5.5 hours in, and I'm like, whoa, it's longer than 5.5 hours. I don't know if I can do this. It reminds me like that. Remember about this time last year, I reviewed Trenches.
yeah,
Was the World War II monster running around the bunker. Sadly, there was a better Trenches monster running around the bunker game that came out like months later that I would have preferred.
the Amnesia game.
Yeah,
Yep.
Amnesia the Bunker.
Yes,
And it sounds like
very
that's
good.
getting some add-ons, and I'm like, I could, and I do think that's on Game Pass. I'm about to give Josh my Game Pass password so we can just play all these games.
See, Mark, I
I
told you.
I was just telling him the Game Pass Ultimate. There's an app now for the Quest headset, and you can play any Xbox game in your headset on a 100-inch screen broadcast in front of your face. So
Once
it plays. It's cloud streaming, so its performance may vary, but
once I figure out how to get Game Pass working properly on my Steam Deck, you guys will never see me again. Your long list of reviews will be sitting there and be like, I haven't heard from Nick in a while. It's because I'm playing fucking Game Pass. Well, hey, that was a lot of games. What do you guys say we get into the news?
Yeah, let's do it.
Read all about it. Latest football scores. Morning paper. Morning star. Paper, mister?
It's time for old news.
good.
All right, so let's see. First up here, Josh, take it away.
Yeah, 16 days into 2024, and there's 2,900 plus video game layoffs that have been announced. Like, obviously, this is overcorrection of the COVID hiring, but like, come on, like, it's getting ridiculous. Actually, since I put this up, they've updated. It's now 3,100, so I'm corrected.
So yeah, this is a list from Zach Ozwezen over at Kotaku. Love the stuff that they do. Yeah, it looks like they have a running list here.
Yeah, and it's getting updated because, like I said, just yesterday it was 2,900. Now it's to 3,100 and growing.
I might have to bookmark this. Yeah, so I heard about Lost Boys Interactive earlier today. Good reporting from Aftermath. I need to go.
Twitch was already bloated, so they could have lose some people. I don't like to see anybody lose their job, but they were.
Oh yeah, they were.
Yeah,
The one that surprised me the most on this list actually was Discord.
yeah.
Because they're very like, oh, they're smart about their hiring. They're a good like family oriented company to work for. They're very open to all things and open enclosures and stuff. So when I saw them on the list, I was like, wow, I can't tell you how many resumes I sent to them trying to get hired, and I'm kind of glad I didn't because I would have probably been one of the 170 to lose their job.
Well, Josh, it's like you said, they're very disciplined when it comes to who they hire.
Well, yeah, that's why I didn't get hired.
I'm sad to see Thunderful on that list because we've got some games coming from them pretty soon.
Yeah, that's just, it kind of leaves a weird taste in your mouth. Like you're working with their PR folks as you like, what's the percentage here? 20% of their staff?
Yeah, it's around
Yeah.
100. Yeah,
Jeez.
like don't we like? I feel for the companies because obviously they're trying to do whatever they can to either stay afloat or to keep the revenue going. But I have to question some of these smaller ones who are like, oh, we're gonna get rid of 3 people.
I'm not even worried about
Why?
I'm not even like, I'm worried
CEO,
about
CFO.
I would hope, but we both know that's not the case.
No.
It's usually the bottom total pull people.
looking at the, like, first of all, that Unity one is still bonkers. Like, my gosh, 1,800
Oh,
people.
yeah.
After, I guarantee you that CEO that they got rid of, I forget his name, is it Maddox or something? But I guarantee you he got a golden parachute that would cover these 1,800 people and then some.
Yeah, and he's the whole reason why the company started going billionaire after that huge debacle of
They screwed the pooch on that where they tried to charge
Oh.
everybody the new licensing fees
Yep.
and break all their contracts.
yep, and all these smaller indie people are like, yeah, fuck
Yeah.
this, we're gonna go elsewhere, and they still never came back. It's like, what did you expect?
Well, and we're heading into the end of the fiscal year here in March. So I mean, it's just, this number's only going to skyrocket over the next 2 months. I mean, I don't think this is far from over. Hey, if you don't like sad news, maybe don't check in on our news segment for the next 2 months because I guarantee you this is not over. Folks are still going to be cutting their fat heading into the new fiscal year. For those not financially savvy like my broke ass. Most fiscal years end at March. That's why you see a lot of big releases around March. I mean, what was it, like the Mass Effects of the world? You see just these last ditch efforts to make some money to like pump those numbers up before these folks have to go and report to their shareholders like, hey, things are great, or hey, the people
Dis-
below me fucked this up.
Yeah.
Disney's doing it right now. Did you see they dumped Echo all at once? They didn't do it
Yeah,
piece it out
I
one.
saw that.
And What If went one a day, so that the whole series came out over a period of 1 week. So
I didn't even see that, and because they were piecemealing out What If season 2, weren't they? Like it was a shorter
yeah,
period of time, but they were like, all right, we got to get this shit out.
yeah, it was 6 episodes in 6 days. So
That's
they just did one a
crazy.
day.
That's
Yeah.
crazy. That like no, that's dumb. That is really dumb. Like TV and just viewership in general is based around habit forming, and like, what are you doing? What are you
Yeah.
doing, Disney? Like have the big release be Thursday, and stop doing this 2 a.m. shit. No one is up at 2 a.m. that isn't on the West Coast. Get the fuck out of here. Fucking put that shit out 6 p.m. like whatever prime time. Put it out during prime time. Ain't if it's not a mom and dad putting on Bluey for their kids, no one's paying for Disney Plus. My God, I know I need to watch my mouth because I'm trying to work in the industry, but god damn, like have some sense.
Well, Nick, you're talking about a mouse who's more worried about keeping his image than they are about keeping their employees or their sanity. So
Don't fuck with the mouse. Pour one out for Bobby Iger losing losing a couple milli compared to the last year.
Oh, jeez.
Hearts go out to everyone who have lost their jobs over the last 17 days and before that, and to those who are facing issues, these similar issues at their company right now. We hope you all land on your feet. We hope you all work for great people who respect you, and also, take the work seriously and don't just look at you as something to dump off when things are going bad. Fuck those people. The bad people, not the good people that we're rooting for.
on to the next one.
On to the next one.
Okay, yeah. So this one actually kind of blew me out of the water, but only half of Baldur's Gate 3 players have beaten Act 1. And by half, I mean only 49.3%.
That's higher than I thought it would be.
I'm shocked. I mean, I know Act 1 is there's a lot going on. I know there's a lot to do, but it just baffles me for something that people praise left and right, that people clamor to, where it's just like the talk of the ball for months, and only half have gotten through Act 1. It just blows my mind.
I don't know if you know this, Josh, but gamers are lazy.
I'm up there with them. I get it, but
No.
at the same time,
The best thing that achievements have ever done, achievements, trophies, whatever you call them, has shown us completion rates. And again, that's not always going to be full picture because you don't have everyone who's buying the game playing online as well.
right.
But showing us completion rates, and I do think that devs and publishers need to take a look at this data and take a look at scope. Games as a service is kind of out of the door. It's going away. If you're not Fortnite or you're not Apex, you're kind of not at the party there. And yes, while these bigger games are selling like hotcakes, obviously we've seen that developers and publishers have kind of overstepped, spent too much money, overspent in the last 3 years. So I would hope the lesson here for those people would be, okay, we're making these big games, but only half of the people are actually getting through these big games. We can make a smaller game for cheaper and actually keep our people employed.
But that's the problem, Nick, is they'll make that cheaper game and still require you to drop $60, $70 for it.
This is true. By the way, this article is from James Troughton at The Gamer. And I wonder, I would like to see the numbers between PC and console just so we can get master PC race stuff going here. Because I feel like the PC gamers are really, really bringing it. I feel like they're the ones who completed it. And everyone else is just meh.
Yeah, I mean, I definitely say this is probably more geared towards PC because let's face it, that's the console. Or like I say, console. That is the system played on. Like, what Xbox had the huge debacle with theirs, and even then they're still having issues with it, especially with the whole you can't record saucy scenes. So like, there's that, and then PlayStation. I mean, Nick, did you know you had PC, didn't you?
Yeah, my review copy is on PC.
Mark, do you remember who did the PS5 review and how that went?
David Fox did that, and he liked it. He also did the the Xbox review that just came out. A couple
Oh,
weeks
well, so he
ago.
did both. Did he?
Yeah.
Did he see a difference in them?
No. In fact,
Really?
his Xbox review is basically go read my PS5 review.
That's fair. I mean, that's
yeah,
fair.
yeah. I mean,
I just know there was a lot of debacle with the Xbox release of it, and there are still issues geared towards certain stuff that's like, okay, guys, this is really questionable. Why are we doing this? But I I agree. At this point, if you're not playing it on PC, you're kind of missing out a lot, I would say, just because there's so much more you can do with it, and then the whole modding community. I mean,
I
there's
think
just
I
so
think it
much.
comes down to preference. I know if I had this on
Yeah.
console, like I cannot handle the console UI with like all the wheels and like just working. Like I remember when I started my PC campaign, I started with a controller and I was like, oh my god, all these wheels! I'm feeling nauseous. I'm feeling nauseous. And then I switched over to mouse and keyboard, and it switches like that. And I was like, oh my god, this is better. I got everything on the bottom of the screen. But you know what? Also, Josh, this news of no one completing it. By the way, I highlighted here only 17.6% of people beat the game on the regular difficulty, which is crazy. I remember there being like a similar headline for The Witcher back in the day, and The Witcher is like by no means anywhere near the length of this. Still a longer game, but I just think that's the name of it. Like people buy games and then just kind of fall off, and then
Well, saying that beating the game is like out of the ordinary. Like, yeah, there are some people who probably fall off the wagon or just like whatever, or something else comes out. I get that. It just blows my mind that only 50, like Act One. Like I said, I know there's a lot there, but Act One and only 50% of the player base, or whatever their scope was, beat the first act. That's, I mean, not even half the game, right? Like that's a
yeah, I figured they would
really?
have dropped off around Act 3 when it started bugging out. So
Yeah.
Josh, I think
So
you're
it blows
being
my mind.
I think you're being unfair. There's still a lot of players creating their characters. They just haven't gotten that far.
There's a lot of characters still trying to fuck the bear, apparently.
It takes a lot of relationship building. Okay, you leave them alone. They're trying.
They're on their 10th date, and they said this time they could probably make third base. Okay.
have you seen some of these streamers where the entire first episode is just character creation?
Yes, and
Like a
it's just like
2 hour
oh,
episode
man.
of just creating their characters. It's like, wow.
I didn't think I don't remember if I wrote this in the review, but I didn't like. Yeah, there's a lot of options, but it seemed that like once you picked your race and your sub race and all that stuff in your class, like I felt like customization was kind of limited. Like I played as a Dragonborn, so maybe that really limited things for me, but I didn't feel like they were that outrageous. I don't know.
Well, I mean, for it being simulated for Dungeons and Dragons, Nick, you would, if you actually got into that stuff, you would know. Day zero campaigns, if you start that, it's a lot of work sometimes, depending on who the dungeon master is.
I did play around with my genitalia for a little bit, so I get it. Not play with it like no
Foot in mouth, foot in mouth.
no
Just playing with the slider,
Yeah.
no, that's worse.
Length or girth.
No. Josh, what's next? We got segue.
Square Enix confirmed used AI tools for foam stars.
This is GameSpot from George Yang. Thanks, George. Yeah, so I think Foam Stars looks really cool. The thing that's keeping me from Foam Stars is that it's a console-only release, and I don't feel like plugging in my PS4 for it. But yeah, every other, and this isn't loading for some reason, but every Foam Stars is the what would you call it, Josh? It's like the Splatoon knockoff.
Yeah, they keep saying it's going to be the Splatoon killer, is what it's being deemed as. And it's like, okay, guys, everything's going to be a something killer. We get it. But if you're going to just quit saying killer, just say it's a knockoff or say it's an equivalent. Like, come on, we get it. But yeah.
Splatoon's only like really big in Japan, right? It's not.
No, I mean, in the States, it's still decently big. But yeah, mainly in Japan is like, it's really big.
I don't know, man. Like, yeah, I don't know why anyone was surprised by this. Like, Square Enix seems to be the one company that's like all in on AI. Like they were still.
You shut your mouth about them.
They were still horny for NFTs. Like after NFTs were no longer a thing. I remember there was a stockholder meeting, and they were like, "Yeah, we're doing it. We're doing NFT. You guys like the Bored Apes? We're gonna get some Bored Apes in here."
But Nick, you know how I feel about Square Enix. They have a place in my heart. I mean, Final Fantasy franchise just alone is just like my golden butter for JRPGs.
You're backing the wrong horse here, Josh.
I understand I am, Nick, but I'm sorry. I have a soft spot for them. Like, yeah, they are the Japanese equivalent of Ubisoft. Should they probably be condemned for some of the stuff they've done? Yeah, but
Let's
they've
see.
also brought a lot of good things to the gaming community that it's hard for me not to be like, give them the benefit of the doubt. You know what I mean?
I don't know, Josh. However, Okutani clarified the large majority of forum stars were developed normally, and the AI-generated assets only made up 0.1% of the total content. I think
It just doesn't justify it though.
I think 0.01 is just too much. And you can invent Final Fantasy VII and all these other great games. I think you gotta, I don't know, pay your people, man. Again, not to bring it back to the first story, but my God, this isn't saving you money because you know what you're gonna do. You're gonna save money, turn around and be like, CEO guy, you saved us money. Here's some more money. Like you're just giving someone more money, and it just happens to be someone at the top who's not really doing anything. I say that as a guy that's like kind of working around C-suite people and seeing like the number of boards they're on and being like, huh, you're getting paid to be at this company, but then you're here,
Yeah.
and you're maybe doing like one or two, like you're maybe on a committee here, but you're not really doing anything. You're just on a Zoom call showing up for an hour and then fucking off to wherever you live. Why are we paying you again? I just think there needs to be something like for the general public to open their eyes and see like, oh, the CEO is not really doing anything. The CFO is not really doing. They're just bumping. They're jumping around. They're networking. These folks at the top are guys. I'm gonna shut up because I'm going crazy. People are like, God, my God, get the lib off the screen.
We're 5 seconds away from the eat the rich comments coming from him.
The guy, someone hosting a show on X is gonna be beefing with us.
They're gonna be beefing with you. I have nothing to do with this. I bring the news to the table.
Mark, I've been saying way too much. You've been around for 25 years. Like, what are you seeing? Mark on the ground floor. What are you seeing?
Oh God, that's tough. The most of the people I deal with aren't at the level that we're seeing here as far as the companies. I deal with PR agencies, and they're pretty stable. I mean, there are multiple agencies for a lot more companies out there. So I have a couple that represent probably over half the games we get to review. So I just have to go to 2 websites, and here's the list of everything that came out this week. What do you want? So
I don't know. Like
And
this AI thing. It's just like have you
yeah.
gotten any AI on the PR side? Have you gotten like a PR email? It was like, I don't think a person sent this.
I've gotten some offers for AI to come and inspect the site to see if there's any AI content on it. So, but they want to charge me to do that. I'm like, no, I trust all my guys. They're not farming this stuff out to Chat GPT. So,
But it's even better, like you can tell.
Are you?
I've been that would be hilarious if I was the most vocal person on here and then you like ran it through and it's like, oh my God, that motherfucker.
No, I mean, but he doesn't. I mean, it's crazy how much AI has gotten in, not just in gaming industries in general. Like I do IT for an insurance company, and that's all these. And this is going to be a little blatantly racist, but let's be honest. A bunch of old white rich people are getting on there going, how can I save a quick buck? And someone's telling them, use ChatGPT and have it do the stuff for you. Someone has fired their lawyer because of ChatGPT. It's like, guys, that's not the end result. Like, why would you think this is a great idea? Ever.
Josh,
Don't get me wrong. It's a good starter. It is a terrible way to keep going, though.
Josh, I'm going to stop you right there. You're scaring away all our rich white listeners.
Oh, all 2 of them. I'm sorry.
All our rich white listeners are scathing. They're like, can you believe these racists? No, but the amount of people that I work with that have sent an AI email, like I'll read an email and be like, this motherfucker never uses this word. He never fucking like what? No, dude, I know. I like the concept of AI. Like, so like, for example, I wrote a social media post for LinkedIn for something that we were pitching, like we were pitching a program. I wrote out the whole email, all the details, the who, like, you follow the 5 W's and the H and you write it all out. and LinkedIn has this little, hey, we saw what you write. Can our AI take a spin and deliver something? I was like, all right, click. And it took like my 3 paragraphs and shortened it to 2. And I read through it and I was like, oh, like it didn't add any like colorful language. It didn't add anything that didn't sound like what I was saying, like something I wasn't saying. It just took my words and rearranged them to be more concise. And I was like, oh yeah, like if I was
Like
going to,
Grammarly, isn't it?
yeah, if I was going to sit down and properly edit this post down, it probably would have looked something like this. And I was like, okay,
See,
that's
but that's fine because it took what you already had written and just made it a little more, like you said, concise. Where these people are like, oh well, how do I fire my lawyer? You have to Google or you have to chat GPT how to fire your lawyer. I can figure that out in 5 seconds. Dude, you're fired.
Lord
Done.
help our old white listeners that are trying to write their wills.
I mean, I seriously get like 3 or 4 emails a day from whatever system they're using. It's basically like, oh, top 10 things you can do with Chat GPT to sell insurance or do this. And I'm like, you need help from a machine. You've been doing this for 30 years and you need help from a machine to sell insurance. You're probably failing and you're probably going to sell that company. Just throwing that out there. Don't want to be that guy, but I'm going to be that guy.
It's a little concerning the amount of people at entry level and mid level positions that are like readily in line to like, oh hey, yeah, come on. Like I tell my LinkedIn story of editing that down, and to me that sounds normal, but I guarantee you there's an editor that's like, no, stop talking, stop. I'll do it. But for every one of them, there's probably like 5 idiots out there that are like, I ain't want to be replaced. It's like, cool, dude, get out of here. You weren't doing anything anyway.
They even updated the database for ChatGPT. I know it like cut off at like 2020 or something like that. So
I don't think it has because I asked it something about a game that hadn't been announced a few months back.
Yeah. So any generative work is
no, but they've also got like those other ones that are like, hey, we use the same algorithm as ChatGPT, but our stuff is up to date with everything that's on the web. And it's like, okay, well, how accurate is this? Where are you pulling your sources from? Because a lot of them are still pulling from like Wikipedia and stuff. And it's like, okay, guys, you do realize that's not a credible source. Like, don't get me wrong, everybody still uses it. It's still not credible.
I'm interested to see where we're at a year from now because my favorite thing right now are the articles that are coming out where the people running it are like, well, if we followed copyright, we wouldn't be able to do this. And it's like,
well, you know where we're at with AI right now, right? It's this whole talk to speech stuff. The whole Ubisoft thing that everybody's losing their minds over. Some of it sounds like really human, and you're like, wait, is this an actual human talking, or is this
Yeah, I showed you that.
machine?
I showed you that one, and I remember telling you like, oh, I hadn't even noticed that wasn't a person.
I would never even known unless someone pointed it out because it was so well done. Where then if you go on TikTok or Instagram, you hear like these are the 5 things, such and such. Like
these are the 5 things. Yeah.
And it's like it's an AI, and it's like, what?
Mark, you know the Prince of Persia character, right? That they did the voice to text, right?
It was the talking head in the tree, I believe.
Yeah, it was the one that guides you in the darkness.
Yeah.
The one that, I will guide you in the dark. I hadn't like maybe we're just.
I didn't notice it.
Okay.
Yeah, it was hard. It's like, and I get why they pointed it out, but at the same time, I'm like, you guys probably could have kept this in the dark the whole time, and I would never have known any better.
Well, I'm glad they pointed it out though.
No, I'm glad they did too.
They didn't. They really didn't.
They were just getting ahead of it.
They're getting ahead of it.
It would have come out, and better to be on this side of it than
they knew someone. They knew some pesky journalist would have been like, "That sounds like a TikTok voice" or something like that, and.
Yeah, that's the thing right now, because I can't go onto any social media without running across these videos of people using that, or the videos now that people are doing where they like will grab a YouTube video, it'll pull all the information out for them, do the whole entire speech, and make like 30-second videos for like their shorts. And they can have like a fake person in the background doing the video, like it's an AI that is just modeling a person and actually moves their mouth like they're talking and stuff. Makes it look like they're actually doing it, but they're not.
Oh, there was one, I'll say this, and then I think we should move on. And then I have another thing to point out too. But there's one where it's I forget what the website was, but I saw it on X or Twitter, and It was a whole newscast. It was a whole newscast. The people were AI generated. The news stories were AI generated, pulled from headlines. And they did a whole 30-minute newscast. And it was fucking terrifying. Like, it was very inhuman. You could tell because it was just like they have that jerkiness around their mouth. I'm
Like, did
reporting the
they
news. There was a 5-car pileup on I-59.
did it actually show like video of like you know how they would pan to a camera and it shows what's going on? They have like the interviews and stuff.
Yeah, they
Did
did
it
some,
do that even?
not the interviews, but they had like B-roll of like sports coverage of like actual sports stuff. Like
Oh
the
shit!
Timberwolves beat the
Wow.
Lakers, blah 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 blah. It was
That
like,
is
oh,
scary.
shit. And they had the banners, and you're like, oh my god, we're playing God, and we got to stop. The other thing, Josh, and when we get off, remind me to send you down the rabbit hole of dead internet theory.
Don't do this, Nick. I'm already having chills just thinking about this video.
I'm gonna switch the screen, but I'll look that up. I'll send you guys that link, but I'll also send you a link to Dead Internet Theory. Fucking terrifying. Very Metal Gear Solid 2 of the world to do this.
Nick, I have to sleep tonight.
No, you don't. What's next, Josh?
Well, speaking of Ubisoft, one of their execs is under hot water right now for the comment he made in an interview. Felipe Tremblay, he's the director of subscription. Basically told everybody, you know, you should just get used to not owning your games.
Fair. I the timing of this is perfect. It's like, dude, you have one of the biggest games coming out any day now, and you choose now to put your foot in your mouth. Like, what are you doing? I will say, I saw there was a tweet on Twitter from the folks behind Slay the Princess, and they're like, hey, just so you know, by the way, this is the team that openly tells people to pirate their game if they can't afford it, so I already fucking love them. And they're like, hey, Scarlet Hollow and Slay the Princess are both DRMA free or whatever. Like, hey, even if Steam were to go down, like, you still have access to this game, so fuck them. And I don't know why they thought coming out and telling people they don't own shit is a good idea, because I don't know. I think there's gonna be some anti-digital push here in the next like few years.
I mean, it's a matter of time at this point. I mean, with like all these old consoles closing their stores, PS3, Nintendo, Wii, I mean, all of them who shut down where you can't get their games anymore. You paid to have that license to be able to own it. How are you supposed to be able to get it without going online and illegally downloading it?
The quote you see a lot being pushed right now is, if there's no path to owning, then or wait, if purchasing isn't owning, then pirating isn't stealing, which I love. I think it's a great line.
Yeah.
I see it tweeted and Reddited everywhere. By the way, this is a Game Rant article from Dominic Bosniak. I hope I said that right, bud. If not, you can correct me. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, Ubisoft, however you want to say it, they feel like a one step forward, two step back dev, because they'll do something amazing. I think they're having a great year between their game that just came out. What was it? The Avatar game. The Prince of Persia game's doing well. I think they had a game before Avatar that also did really well for them. Far Cry 6, I don't think it was a big hit, but like, people are still like not talking about it as much, but I think it sold well enough for them. People liked Assassin's Creed Mirage, so I think they're streaking right now. They're in a pretty good spot. But
do you think that Ubi has enough games to launch their own Game Pass?
No,
I do.
It sounds like if they just charge like a monthly subscription, that might be what this guy's hinting at. Is you're not going to own them. You're just going to pay us $14 a month to play anything you want off of our Ubi Connect or whatever they're calling it now.
Yeah, just I don't know. Word your statement better. I don't know. Maybe he's being paraphrased to shit. I haven't heard like his full interview.
He basically was just like, hey, with how the industry is going right now, with like Game Pass, with Netflix doing their thing, like we're getting to a point where subscribing is going to be the way to go instead of like actually going out and buying your games. You're just going to subscribe to that company and basically rent it, which he's not wrong. I mean, look at the streaming industry with shows and movies. Like, it started out as this revolutionary thing where you could just go watch whatever you want whenever you want. It cost you $5. Now it's basically you have 4 or 5, and it made up what your cable company was doing, because now with some of them you have to pay extra not to get ads, and some of them still throw in the ads.
I think what he would have been better off saying is something along, and maybe he did say this. Again, I haven't heard the full interview. Was saying something along the line of like, "Hey, we're looking at like maybe not doing physical copies for everything we're going to release," because I think that's maybe what he was building towards. I honestly don't think that's a good idea because I think people are going to start trending back towards physical media as we start to see. I mean, between the TV streamers like pulling shit off their show, like pulling shit off of their apps and that completely disappearing, and physical media is just getting harder to find. I know this is going to make me a little more insufferable, but I recently got into vinyl, and trying to find records is like.
Nick,
Best Buy, baby. We got the
Yeah.
biggest record collection going right now.
Nick, I'm gonna blow your mind. Vinyl is back right now. Everybody's going to
solid.
vinyl.
I know. I just paid $50 for a JPEG Mafia vinyl.
Yeah.
I know.
We got ACDC Back in Black in the store, and I'm looking at that like, man, I had that when it was new, but it's $30 an album now. It's just like,
And
So-
that,
really?
and that seems to be across the board. Like unless it's like some hippy dippy like indie band that I like that not a lot of people like, I'm paying $30 the minimum. I do have to say, if you're watching the video, Ubisoft has an image here with all their games either upcoming or out, and the gall of these people to have the Prince of Persia remaster be almost the biggest one. Game should have been out 3 years ago at this point, based off of the way they were pitching it, and it just rattles my chains. But I don't know, like, not to get all up my ass about physical media, but having kids now, like, I remember as a kid, like, I discovered my music based off of the album or the CDs I was stealing from my parents. It was the Toby Keith, the Shania Twains, the Faith Hills, the AC/DCs, the Nirvanas. Like that was the NWAs. That was the stuff I was stealing from my parents and listening to, and that was like informing what I was listening to. And now you have these digital trends where folks have Spotify, folks have Netflix, folks have Game Pass, and I think younger generations, you don't really get an idea of like the media your parents are consuming because it's like invincible to you. It's so personal. Like maybe you watch a movie that they like on Netflix, but that's it. You don't see the box. You don't see like, it's weird. It's weird, but I do think like we're missing something with that physical media. That's why, again, insufferable me got into vinyl because I want my kids to have something to be like, oh, dad loves this shit. Let's listen. I love this record. Let's put this on. I also want them to have something to fight over when I die because I'm not making any money. So why not?
Joke's on them. I get the vinyl collection, so
The older I get, the more insufferable I become. People are just like, man, this old man is yelling at this cloud this whole episode. My God.
Well,
But
the death of physical media in gaming, though, I mean, it's been a godsend for me because once the publishers stopped having to ship me physical copies of games and email me a code, I started getting twice as much access to stuff at that point. So
I do like that the speediness of it. I will say, didn't Best Buy just stopped doing physical copies of games, right?
no, we still have games.
those DVDs.
The DVDs are slowly being phased out.
Yeah.
So I see it go away every day. When I go in there, it's a little bit less every day, and they're not coming.
Are they doing anything to replace that kind of stuff then? Because obviously that's like it's a huge section of like most Best Buys.
It's still, I mean,
Just the
for
physical media
floor
in general.
space.
Yeah,
Well, because all the media will still be available on the website. They're just
Right.
not gonna.
they're
But
not gonna have it in stores.
no, they're tidying up. They're putting more stuff on the floor now. They're turning it almost into like a showroom experience where you can go in there and there's kiosks now and we've got like really cool a PC section now with like a Razer section. And
Okay, so more like more like a micro center setup, basically.
yeah. It's
Okay,
like
I could dig
themed
that.
areas. So
I
yeah.
can dig that.
It is getting scary because I know I mentioned the vinyl, which is like a up and coming format, but it's so stupid to say that out loud. But like DVDs, like finding DVDs of like like anytime I find a series that I like if I'm out and about, like I just bought like season 2 and 1 of Wilfred out in the wild because I was like, you cannot find this. Like the show is going to disappear one day, and if I don't have this DVD, it's going to be gone. And now trying to hunt down the rest of that season, like it's hard to find in person. It's even harder to find online because like even like an eBay search, it's getting harder to find stuff. So I'm just I'm baffled by like the disappearance of everything so fast.
we're getting into the anniversaries of a lot of things, so I'm hoping to
Mhm.
see a lot more. Like yesterday was the 50th anniversary of Happy Days, so where's that box set?
Oh wow.
It's
Well, it makes me hope like Criterion, like people love the shit out of the
yeah.
Criterion collection. I hope stuff like the who is it? The developer that did the Atari 50. They also did another thing recently. But those developers that are doing stuff like that almost almost like a documentary type situation. I think it might have been the same team that did the Karateka thing recently. But I'm kind of hoping we get physical releases of that. I kind of hope that becomes a thing, just in the name of game preservation, because I feel like preservation wise, I think movies and music kind of have a thing going and are pretty well preserved. Games not so much. You go through a console cycle and things are just completely gone. No way to no way to play it unless you're dusting it off or you're ripping it onto something. Um,
I have a PlayStation in the closet, and it's got the PT demo on it, and that's the only reason I still have that PlayStation.
I missed that. I missed that. I have a PlayStation over here, and I only have it because I have a copy of Bloodborne that I swear I'm gonna go play. And I'm like, no, no, I'm
Nick,
not
if you
plugging you in, bud.
ask me real nice, I'll make sure you get a copy of that demo.
The PT demo.
Uh-huh.
All right.
I still have it on my PlayStation that's hidden. So
Wouldn't it be sick if we made that our book club game, just like a little 20-minute
Ooh.
demo, just to be little shits?
I wouldn't be against it. You know how much I love PT. Like that is the golden goose egg that we'll never get again.
It'll never happen unless like Kojima like OD unless like I almost said Kojima OD. No, 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 no.
Jesus.
Unless the OD game that he's doing and like Death Stranding to like sell like a million bajillion copies and then he can just buy Konami and just do whatever he wants with
Oh,
Silent Hill and
I
Metal
hope
Gear.
that's the case. I hope he does so good that he can buy Konami and he just fires all those fuckers who talk shit about him.
I almost said he OD. Oh my god. Okay,
Jesus, yeah.
hey, we got through the news. It was a bummer. I'm sorry. I promise I'll try to be a more cheery guy for the news in the future. Once the news is more cheery. So, like I said, we have Mark Smith here. Game Chronicles is 25 years old. Plus, I'm going to put a plus next to it based off of that 1996 news you told us.
Yeah.
Mark, why Game Chronicles? Why start the site? What did you have going? Like, what was the deal? What's the deal, man?
Well, I was doing strategy guides, started in 1996. I have 30 published strategy guides now, and they're all available on the website. It's more of a legacy thing now. But some people noticed me. It was a site called MPOG, Multiplayer Online Gaming. It's not that anymore, so don't go there. But I did reviews for them, and they flew me out to E3 in 1999, and I got to get a taste of what it was like to be a games journalist. And I thought, I want to do this. And then around 2000, there was that big debacle where the whole internet almost collapsed, I guess. And what emerged from the ashes was me. And I was out the E3 the following year, and I was talking to a PR guy from Sega, and he'd read some of my stuff. He says, "You just ought to start your own website." I'm like, I came home after E3, and a week later, I started my own website. So got the business license, so nobody could call me a phony. And well, but once you start going to E3 on your own, you have to have a business license. So that actually turned out to be good. So, but yeah, it took off from there. Game Chronicles, the original conception for it was I wanted to follow a game from conception to publication, get embedded, almost like an embedded journalist with the companies, and follow along the making of a game and cover the entire thing, and then maybe create like a documentary at the end of it. You'd be surprised how much game developers don't want to talk to outside people that early in the game process.
No.
So no,
So you had
yeah.
to have enjoyed that Psychonauts 2 documentary that Josh wants me to stop talking about.
That's a good one. There's a really the good one for Grounded, I think, for The Last of Us, and they're working on a sequel for The Last of Us too. So, yeah, those documentaries that just follow everything from like the art, and because I got to go to a couple studios, I got to go up to Canada for the Deus Ex Humankind game in Montreal, and got to go in their studios and just to see You like that game?
Nick will tell you, I love Mankind Divided and Human Revolution. Those
He-
are my game. Those are my games.
He can't stand up right now, or else
No,
we would see stuff we don't want
I'm
to see.
jealous. I am
I-
so jealous right now.
I have an autographed game case with everybody that designed it. So.
Gosh,
I'll-
Mark,
I'll
you
put-
lucky.
I'll put you in my will.
Thank you. I appreciate.
You're the only one that would appreciate it, I think. So, I mean,
Dude, I'd probably. It would honestly. I would have it sit right in the middle, in between my monitors. I could stare at it every single day.
But yeah, it's just the process of creating a game from start to finish. I mean, I've seen it at different stages, but I've never got to experience it, the whole thing. So, but that wasn't going to happen. So I just became another game review site. And I really wanted to launch a print magazine. In fact, on our Facebook page, I have several, like 70 fake covers that I made. And for the first, about 6 or 7 years, I put this cover up on the main page, and people thought I ran a real game magazine. I'd have PR people like asking me, "Can you send me a copy of your mag?" I'm like, "No, it's just a fake image." So it's
That's impressive though. If you're able to fake them out like that.
yeah. Well, what I do is I go through and look at everything we did the previous month and make a magazine. Like, oh, here's the games we reviewed, here's the articles and the hardware we tested in our game labs and all this stuff. And it was really cool. I mean, yeah, I wasn't trying to fool anybody. It's just that's what I wanted to do, but trying to print anything. I mean, Next Gen magazine. Remember that magazine? That was my favorite magazine of all time because it covered every platform, and that's kind of what I wanted to do, is recreate that on the web. So,
Do you?
and I got it. I got in early enough. I mean, I'm the second oldest gaming site. My license was purchased 4 weeks after IGN got theirs.
Oh wow.
Jesus.
That's
So yeah.
I feel terrible now because of all those times I was like just talking to people, telling them I wrote for Game Chronicles and telling them like, not Video Game Chronicle. I think it's an SEO thing. I don't know. I feel terrible every time I said it. I always said it jokingly, but like I never really knew. So
No. Video Game Chronicles just showed up. 5, 6. I don't know how long they've been around, but they got great news. I mean, they got hard hitting journalism there. I mean, I watch other YouTube channels that use them as reference, so they do really good reporting.
they're really good.
I've never-
I like their
I've never
reporting
read-
pretty much. Reporting's
Yeah.
pretty much number one. I like.
They do reviews. I've never read a review there, so
Well, that's because it gets redirected to your website, right?
oh,
they haven't like been weird with you and been like, hey, what's this?
well, that's why I got that business license.
Have you thought about like, hey guys, not cool. I was here first. Get off
No,
my lawn.
I'll enjoy the side traffic. I'm sure there's a lot of people typing it in wrong or something. So
That admittedly, that's how I discovered Game Chronicles. I forget the game, but I was looking for a review. Game Chronicles popped up. I was
Yeah.
like, oh, okay.
we're getting better. We got hit by Chinese hackers about 5 years ago, and I had to turn off all the Google and the crawling and the search engine stuff, and just basically block any remote access to the site. And so we really tanked in the search ratings for about 2 years, and then we got it all figured out, and we're back on Google and Bing and all that now. So traffic's spiking again. So yeah.
Do you remember? So you've been doing this for a long time. Do you remember the first game you reviewed?
Wow. It would have been. It was for N64, and I want to say it was either Wipeout or Conker's Bad Fur Day.
Not
solid game,
not bad.
Wipeout 64, yeah.
Not bad.
I mean,
And that was so janky because I had my office. I was living in an apartment up in South Bend, and I had like office in one room, and the game was in another room. And they sent me this capture device that had a little thing that with a coax cable, and I had to get a 25-foot coax cable to run it to the other room to capture on the PC. And oh man, and that was just to get screenshots. That wasn't even capturing video.
well, I mean,
So-
did you ever have to get like developer consoles to be able to test some of these games back in the day, or was it all like ready to go, like public copies that at the end of the day anybody could play it on any of their consoles at the time?
Back then everything was publicly available. The only time I had an Xbox dev kit for the original Xbox.
Oh, that's cool.
and those are serialized, and you have to send them back when you're done with it and everything. But yeah, you get some really. But again, those games aren't finished, and one of the not one of the promises we make on Game Chronicles is we're playing finished games. So, and if not, we label it clearly as like early access or a
Yeah.
preview copy or something like that. Because and even they'll send me these games like we're playing Prince of Persia early now, but it is available to the public. But there's always day one patches and stuff. And even if I get a game early and they let me post the review early, I still won't do it until after the launch date where I played what the public's playing because I've been burned a couple times where there's been stuff in my game that performs a little bit better because I'm on a developer build in Steam or something like that. And
Yeah, that Prince of
so,
Persia
yeah.
one's weird because they sent us the game and we had the little like rundown, but it also
Right.
mentioned like, oh hey, this is everything that's gonna be fixed by the time the game's out. But it's gonna be a
That's
little
great
different
when
for
they
you.
do that. Yeah. Yeah.
So you mentioned like stuff coming out and getting burned. Like any review controversies or any anything you can talk
Yeah.
about? Of course, any NDAs never die, but
Probably the biggest controversy. We don't do a lot of Nintendo reviews. I never had a relationship with Nintendo. They've always worked with a third-party PR firm, so we don't get a lot of first-party titles. Third-party crossovers we get no problem. But we did a review for it was the Mario Kart. I'm trying to remember which version it was. It was for the I think it was for the Wii, and I gave it a 4.5, I think.
out of 10.
Out of 10. I did not like it. I thought like the 200 nitro thing was BS. You couldn't win a race, but yeah, I slammed it pretty hard, and I got hit back pretty hard on that. And I even had to publish a editorial article called I forget what it was called, something about the importance of a score or something like that. And I talked about good stuff in the review, but then I gave it a 4.5 because that's what I thought it was, and people just they didn't agree with it. And that was one of the few reviews I've ever put up that we didn't get a copy of. And that's another policy we have is pretty much everything, how you're supposed to disclose this copy was provided, So I do it the other way. I say everything we do is provided unless we'll tell you if it's not. So it's easier to do it that way than putting all these disclaimers on every article and video I do, but
Right. It's funny because you're not the first person I've heard who's like in Nintendo jail for something for a review that they didn't like. So you kind of mentioned it out of show pre-show, but no scores on the website because of something that had happened. But my question around that is like, do you feel like that's kind of opened you up to like? Do you feel like that's been a net positive or a net negative for the site when you got away from scores?
Moving away from scores basically alienated us from Metacritic and a lot of these aggregate sites that pull everybody together and average them out. We lost a little bit of higher end access to some companies, but we still get the games.
Oh yeah.
The ones worth playing. So the indie side of thing is blowing up, and I know you love the indie games, Nick, and I feel bad that I turned down probably 30 to 40 offers a week for games. And I'm almost going to start CCing you on some of these to see if you're interested. But
it's tough because there's so much.
There is so much out there. Steam is just and what's your guys' thoughts on pixel art games? Do you like the retro fad?
I'm getting tired of it.
Yeah, it's getting a lot of day, but at the same time, it's still like it's not a bad thing. If you're doing something that's not cookie cutter, I'm interested. But if it's cookie cutter, you might as well just cut it right down the spot.
I'm more interested right now. Right now, something I really like. So, like a lot of games are doing the PS1 throwback, which is fine. Like I really liked Homebody. I thought that looked really cool the way they did it and made it look like the PS1 horror games. What I like, so I reviewed Ugly for the site, and Ugly is a game I really came away liking. Kind of has that Braid vibe, kind of has a little bit of a Cuphead art style to it as well. I'm liking those games right now that kind of play on the nostalgia bit from like the 360 era, because I mean we're almost 20 years away from it at this point. So I mean, anyone playing on the pixel art side of things, I'm over, like, that's kind of that game I mentioned with Josh earlier, that the Japanese noir one that's very pixelated. That was one thing that was kind of keeping me from it because it just kind of feels like it's oversaturated right now.
Yeah, it's kind of cool when they do it as a design choice, but when they're doing it just to kick something out the door, when those games show up, then they usually give me a couple sample screenshots and stuff like. I don't want to do it, and nobody on the team's going to want to do it.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's interesting. And now I've always dreamed of the day when stuff would just arrive and I wouldn't have to ask for it, and that's happening now, but with not so good games. So it's a lot of these indie people just throwing stuff out there and seeing what sticks. Just like, oh, here's our game. We'd be happy if you'd review it. So, and
Now,
you've reviewed several of those. So
going from like the bigger houses to the more indie houses, do you find like, are you getting like a lot more, not blowback, but like, do you find like, are indie companies, their PR squads a little more like, hey, we didn't like that? Like, have you had that instance, or do you find like the indie scene's a little more chill on the back end after a review comes out?
I think a lot of the PR people know if the game's bad or not before I tell them.
Because they're all
And
external PR. Like most of the time, it's
yeah,
external
they're
PR,
all
right?
agencies. So and they might have bonuses on the line or something, but I don't know if their livelihood's based on if the game's good or not. So as much as the developers actually do. But yeah, in fact, I just did one the other day for that. It was Balance. It was a little balancing game with a marble that rolls around, and it's an old game, and they did a very low level effort to put it on PC, and I called them out on it, and I did get a comment back saying, yeah, we understand you weren't happy with it, but nobody's ever asked me to change anything. Even back in the day when we were scoring stuff, nobody even asked me to change a score or anything.
It does feel weird in your gut when you get a response from a dev. I got one for Fort Solid. I got a comment from Fort Solace, and I was like nervous to open the email. I was like, oh fuck, oh fuck, oh fuck, oh fuck. This is their life's work, and I just fucking shat on it. Oh god, oh god, oh god, oh god. And it was a little like a Steam comment. It wasn't anything like Bethesda's doing right now, but it was like, oh hey, we hear you. We're sorry. So it was like nice to be like, okay, they don't hate me. They probably hate me, but they're not saying it out loud.
I've had a couple reviews that I've called out some stuff, and then like within a week there'll be like a patch come out, and the patch list reads like my review complaints, and it's like awesome, somebody's listening out there. So
I haven't gotten that yet, but I haven't gone back and checked. Maybe I should go back and look.
yeah.
Is there anything? So 25 years. Is there any, what are you the most proud of with the website? What is something that you look back at and you're like, man, like I fucking did it, man.
Oh, probably just the travel, the travel options that were made available back in the golden days when we were riding high on the Metacritic wave.
R.I.P. and all that
I mean,
stuff.
yeah, I mean, I think probably the best time out of all, and God help me, I don't remember what year it was, but I got to take five guys out. We took the entire team out to E3.
We missed the golden age, Josh.
We missed the golden age just by a few years, damn it.
Yeah.
Well, speaking
Yeah,
of which, I mean,
but
how do you feel about E3 being pretty much canceled? Just being
uh,
gone.
I'm fine with it. I think 2012 was the last one I went to, and they had been getting progressively worse since 2002, I believe. In fact, I just dug up my 2002 badge the other day. Uh, but yeah, back in the day with the booth babes and all the debauchery going on and everything, and now it's all sanitized and very corporate. And
It sounded like
uh,
Vegas growing up. I remember we would watch on Tech
oh,
TV, and it's like, oh my god, it's like crazy. They're crazy out there. They're just playing video games and looking at girls. My goodness.
I don't. Is it 2000 or it might have been the '99 one? Because the one year I went out for MPOG, I didn't have any assignments. I was just there
To
running
enjoy it.
around. Yeah, and I was there with my camera. I have like 300 pictures of booth babes and stuff like that. But gathering of developers. You remember that company? They
Mhm.
did Duke Nukem. They were the Duke
Mhm.
Nukem, and yeah, so they bought an entire parking lot outside the stadium and had this big rave party going on, and that they had Duke Nukem. They had a guy dressed up like Duke Nukem, big bodybuilder guy, and then they had like leather-clad, naked, half-naked babes standing next to him and stuff, and you could take pictures with them. And they had all the food and everything, and it was crazy. It
It,
was
it's
really crazy.
it is crazy how far away we've gotten from all that. Like I
Yeah.
remember, like IGN and all that would post like, "Hey, here are the booths," and like there'd always be a photo of a booth babe or something. And I feel like we're kind of circling back because I'll see, and it's back just under a different vocabulary. Like you'll see Kotaku does if they go to a con, they'll be like, "Hey, our favorite cosplay at this con," and they're not booth babes per se. They may be people who are actually there visiting, but I mean, tomato, tomato. At this point, it's somebody
Yeah.
dressed up as that character. Like,
Well, and there's cool little indie things too. Like I was at the Nvidia booth one year, and I was talking to the guy, and he'd read some of our reviews. It's just like he gave me a card. He says, "Come here tonight." I'm like, "Okay." And it was downtown downtown Hollywood, just next to the Chinese theater, and we went up into this bar area. Huge party going on. Smash Mouth was up on stage playing.
all right.
It was,
Also, R.I.P.
and it was like the Nvidia. It was like the Nvidia press event thing, and I walked out of there with like a backpack full of Nvidia merchandise and all this. It was amazing. So they really put on a show. I mean, Sony had their event inside the baseball stadium, so they rented out the baseball stadium. So
We missed the golden age.
This
Yeah,
is really
it's
night and day from the news segment of, hey, we got 24,000 layoffs.
well,
I left with a computer.
well, that's just E3. I mean, the press events. I mean, and you can't let them influence your review. But I
Right.
mean, they
That's what they're
throw
trying.
some.
That's what they're
Yeah,
trying to do.
yeah, yeah. I mean, probably my best press event was Call of Duty Black Ops, and uh, went out to San Diego, and sitting in the San Diego airport, which is also a military airport, and I'm in this little hangar area, and they give me a. I'll grab it.
Oh no.
Hang on.
Oh no. Oh no. Oh no.
See, hope this shows up. We'll get you some more. Let me get some light here. All right, gotta get it centered on the.
What-
So that is my gamer tag, Call of Duty, and this is a actual flight helmet. And they put me in a Black Hawk helicopter, and we buzzed along the coast of California, went over the Santa Monica Pier. All the people on the beach flew us up to Ojai and put us up in this resort. I was in a room that was on the 18th hole where Tiger Woods had played like the couple days before, and yeah, I got tour videos of the apartment they put me up in and everything on my YouTube channel. So yeah, it's insane. And then you go to these big clubhouse and they have all these computers set up for multiplayer, because that's mostly the main reason you go to these events, is to get the multiplayer out of the way ahead of street date. And then you would go back into your room at night, and they have a big TV set up and a big thing, all the energy drinks and snacks and stuff. And then there's your copy of the game to play the story missions. And that's like a 3-day event.
And the whole time you're in the big public room, there's someone in your ear, like you don't even realize it, but they're in the back of your ear going, 10, 10, 10.
Probably.
No, if it's Black Ops, it was already, they programmed it into the game. It was all about the numbers.
But yeah, Activision put on some of the best events. So, and
I remember listening to the Giant Bomb guys back when they were still like all together, talking about like going out for a Smuggler's Run event put on by Rockstar, and like they drove them like through the desert in like dune buggies, like they were on a Smuggler's Run. And I just like hearing that, and then hearing your story about being flown, and then like playing on the TV, and then having a TV. It's almost like a gamer's episode of White Lotus. It's just this crazy extravagant thing. And that, like, have you had any, like, was that like the last big thing you remember, or was there anything recently?
there was Activision did a Bond game, and they flew me into the LAX, and I got picked up by a stunt driver in it was a Porsche, and he just drove like a maniac. I don't know if they had approved streets or the cops were just not present that day, but he drove all like a spy. It was like a spy movie. They were trying to recreate a spy movie. So we're just careening through downtown LA, and we get up to the coast, and he says, "All right, get out of the car." And I get out of the car, and there's like these 3 hot chicks sitting there or standing there on the beach, and they got a briefcase, like a silver briefcase, which I could get that too, but I won't. And And they say, quick, and the girls hold up like a big curtain thing, and you have to take off your shirt, and they give you like a tuxedo shirt, which I've got in my closet, and you got the spy briefcase, and they get back in the car, and they drive you to the event, and it's like this big posh event, and first time I ever had like chicken and waffles and stuff like that, so
Chicken and
that was
waffles is
really
good.
cool. Oh
This
my,
just sounds
yeah.
so awesome.
But yeah, it's very. I mean, they must get professional planners to figure all this stuff out. What they didn't figure out was they gave us these really cool spy guns, and nobody got those back on the plane to go home. If you wanted,
I can see
if you had a
that.
Walter, we had a Walter PPK replica in our briefcase. It's like that ain't getting on the plane.
What you didn't know was the Bond girls' names were all 10 out of 10. My name's 10 out of 10.
They were 10. So
They were subliminally like putting it in
yeah,
your head.
yeah.
Oh my
But
gosh, Josh,
uh,
we're like
yeah.
20 years too late, my dude.
Well, apparently we might get something good. Maybe we'll get lucky and they'll fly us a copy directly to us. Maybe that's the best we're gonna get.
Hey, you guys want to come? You guys want to come out and hang out in this apartment with Jonathan Blow while he talks about the Braid remake or the Braid re-release? And it's Jonathan Blow like breathing through his mouth as he, well, the subtext of this scene, and that's all it is.
Well, the coolest thing about all these events was you actually get to see all the journalists from all the other sites and put faces and voices to
See, that'd be cool.
the names. So yeah,
I think now it'd be a little watered down because you'd have all these influencers running around and kind of just being obnoxious.
yeah.
And hey, I know some good influencers. I know some fine people. But that said, they're kind of obnoxious walking ads, a lot of them.
Yes.
I mean, I was going to ask next what you miss about those old days, but I think I kind of got a
I
feeling.
miss the old days.
I think I kind of got a feeling. Is there anything in the last 25 years that you're like, man, we really missed the mark on this, or this is something that I wanted to do and didn't get to?
I should have got into live streaming earlier. I'm still dabbling in it, but not as much as I want to. Probably should have got into what you guys are doing earlier. But maybe when I don't have to run the site anymore, which I don't know when that's going to be. But I'm picking out milestones in the near future for when that might be. So it could be soon. Breaking news.
Speaking of news, any big goals for the site in the next 25? Or I'm going to say 25. You don't want to be doing this for another 25 years.
No.
Any big goals like for the next year or the down the near future?
I think just a bigger push into multimedia because nobody wants to read anymore.
See, I love the reading thing though. I love it. I just think you got to piecemeal it. You hit somebody like I'll write a review for you and it'll hit 1,500 and it'll be like, I gotta edit this down.
Yeah.
And it becomes tough when it's a bigger game and you're like,
I like to read certain things, like strategy guides. I hate looking up something and it takes me to a video, and then I have to sit there and skim through a video for an hour to find the part that I want. I rather just, where's the thing hiding in this level? And
It's literally the quick, like if you're looking up a recipe online, and they talk about, they give this grand story of, though, this is my grandmother's recipe. I don't care. Give to the stuff I'm actually needing.
that's SEO because I do that all the time. I get stuff that I want to cook in the air fryer, and there's no air fryer thing. And like, how long does it take to cook this in the air fryer? And here's the history of chicken nuggets. So
Yep.
it's like,
That's great.
we piss on it, but I think that'd be hilarious to read it in like a games walkthrough where you're like, how do I beat this boss? And you're like, well, the snake boss from Prince of Persia really reminds me of a summer I spent with my grandfather in '98. We went down to the park and I stepped on a snake and it bit me and he sucked out the poison, and I just love my grandfather so much. So, by the way, to beat this god snake, what you need to do, I think that'd be hilarious.
You're forgetting the part where they add the. Also, this little tidbit is brought to you by Raid Shadow Legend.
Which, by the way, Raid Shadow Legends, it reminds me of my mother who...
Didn't they do something like that in South Park? You guys played the South Park RPG, right?
Yeah.
Which one? The first one?
Yeah. Well, both of them, I think, because he was a reoccurring character. They had that one character, the old farmer guy, that you could ask questions for hints, but he would just like kind of ramble off and tell these long stories before you got the exactly what you're saying there.
I'm writing for Hard Drive, right? I'm pitching for Hard Drive. I might, after we get off of this, go and be like, hey guys, what if we did something like this? Just to see. Those guys love their SEO traffic. Mark, any last question, because we were running long and I don't want to take up any more of your time. And I want to ask you stories off show, because I think those would be even more interesting. Any advice for anyone trying to get into games media now? Would it be like, hey, it's too late, bud? Or just any advice in general for someone trying to start a site, for someone trying to get into just game media, write reviews, anything like that?
Send me an email and apply.
It's just that easy.
Yeah.
Do you want me to put the Sopranos soundbite in here where it's like I think I'm coming in at the end?
No, I don't think so.
All right. Well, Mark, we appreciate you coming on the show.
Hey, it's been a blast. So
It's been like I said,
I love talking about games. So if I'm not talking about them, I'm writing about them.
That's fair.
All of our interactions have been email, so it was finally good to put a face and a voice to all those emails,
Absolutely.
all those back and forths, all those, hey, where's that review, son of a bitch?
It's been a month.
That's how vulgar the emails get. No, they don't. Mark is a great person. Mark is great people. So you can find Mark is on Game Chronicles, running the shit out of that shit until they turn the lights off. You're on socials as well, right, Mark? On the Twitters?
No, actually, I bailed on Twitter when Elon bailed on Twitter. So yeah, I still have an account, but I don't use it anymore. So basically, if it's important information, it's down in the bottom left corner of the website. I do like a little note thing there, but not a lot going on. We got a Facebook page. Everything's linked at the top. So YouTube channel, got archives for the early days. So you can basically everything I've ever written is online. So someday I'm going to try to lock this thing down and have it kind of like a museum piece, maybe.
I keep telling myself I want to go back and like PDF all my reviews. I'm not afraid the site's going to go away, but I want to have that stuff for myself when like just all the internet for everybody goes down, and I just have it saved on one computer.
How are you liking web design, Nick? You got your website up, looking great.
I'm glad I did Squarespace. I met with a friend I met through screenwriting Twitter, and she was like, get off of WordPress. Get the fuck off of WordPress. What are you doing? Security wise, they are a fucking nightmare. And since I've done that, I've loved Squarespace. I have my personal website on WordPress, and I'm like now considering switching that over because I'm having such a good time with Squarespace. It's a little harder to learn out of the gate, but once you kind of have a semblance, and I know there's things I'm doing poorly that it will get better eventually, but I'm liking it right now. I'm liking the ease. I'm liking how good things look from going from a web browser to a mobile browser, because that was something that always bothered me about WordPress is they would do the funkiest shit going from one to the other, and like a picture would be out of place. And I ran into that with Squarespace today with one of our guest lists, and he was like, hey, this picture's down here. And so just learning how to interact with Squarespace, but I'm loving it. I think it's a lot of fun. I want to keep that website going for forever and forever, and I'm happy to have a place to have a home for all my stuff.
It's so much easier now to start a website with the content management systems, because back in the day, if you go at the top of our website, if you go there for the archives, there's 10 years of pages that were hand coded.
They're not easy to do.
No, 10 years of content, all hand. I look back at that, and then even when I got into WordPress, and we had the theme from 2 years ago, and that's when we actually had scores. And the theme, basically, they abandoned the theme, and I had to get rid of it because it no longer worked. That's more the reason we got rid of scores than anything else, is because all the scores vanished. So, at least for the content post 2012. Now, anything we still have numeric scores on the early content, but I always wanted to get away from scores because people usually just go right to the number and they don't read any of the text. And we're taking the time to write the reviews, so read them.
And that seems to be the I've seen that, and not to get back. I know we're wrapping up, but I've seen other places. I think Polygon might have gotten away from Polygon, and Kotaku got away from scores.
They
as well.
They did it right before I did. So
and who was it? like IGN does this thing where like if a game hits a 10, they'll put it on the image. And I think that's them trying to deter people. Okay, well, holy shit, it's a 10. Why?
Yeah.
And I think that's really fucking clever. But I see it like myself. Sometimes I'll see a 10 and be like, okay. I'll see the 10 on the images, but all right, I'm not clicking that. I just wanted to see what it got and read the little blurb that they have at the bottom. But that is disheartening. People scrolling down to the bottom, seeing what it got. And again, I'm part of the problem, but I do like taking a little bit of the power back. And it's so like if I had to do the review, like you think my reviews take time, Mark? They would take even more time as I try to decide what number to give this thing. Like, okay, well, this is a pro, this is a con.
Well, be glad,
it gets a
be
6.
Be glad you weren't here for the early days, because most of the reviews were 2,000 words, and they were broken down into 5 categories for graphics, value, sound. It was very, very elaborate.
Some of these games,
and
I can't imagine. Like that City Eye one, I was like, I don't even think I could do 800 words. It was just it's so cut and dry. And I'm like, how do you expand ChatGPT? How do I expand this from 400 words to 800 words? Help me out here.
I had games like that back in the day, and if you couldn't think of anything to say, you just get the feature list, the bulleted feature list, and paste it in there.
That's not a bad idea. That's not a bad idea.
Gives you about 2 inches of screen space.
That's all you need.
You know, when I was turning a paper in back in the day, what we would do is make the periods bigger so that you could meet the page.
No,
Professors wouldn't check.
You change that from like single space lining to like 1.2. It's just enough that you got a little bit more there, but they would never know. They're not gonna take a rule to it.
Or you change it to heading 2, and it's just a big old dot, and they're like, what is that? You can find Mark on Game Chronicles and anywhere the Game Chronicles is. The social buttons are on the website. Go check it out. Read some
I promised
reviews.
to get on YouTube. I promised to get back to YouTube. I'm very delinquent on that. So
it's a battlefield out there. But we'll be there for it. We're excited to see where the site goes in the future. Hey, folks, Nick here. You can find me on Twitter at @ThatKaufman. You can find me on my inactive YouTube and Twitch at NickFatKnight. I too promise to get back to those one day. Josh, where can the people find you?
You can find me just about anywhere at I'm Josh Saying, but at this point, there's not much being said.
Josh's internet footprint is non-existent. You can't even.
No, that's
find
not
the
true.
man.
I write for Mark, so technically I'm there. I'm just not in the social end of it. I'm just more getting into the nitty grittiness of the gaming.
I'm gonna Google you after the show and see what pops up. I want to know.
Okay, well, if a Florida man comes up, it wasn't me.
All right, I believe you. Josh has never been in Florida. Hey, you can find you can find Smashing Game Time wherever you get your podcasts. Check us out in all those places: Spotify, Apple, YouTube, YouTube podcasts, all of them. Go check it out. We've also got a website, Smashing Game Time. We're on multiple socials. We're on X/Twitter. We're on Instagram. We're on TikTok. We're inactive on TikTok right now because it's getting a little. We're feeling it in our soul, all that work, and then only 250 people saying it. It was hitting us in the soul, so we're taking a break from the TikTok.
We'll get back though.
Huh?
So we'll get back though. We'll get back there
eventually. Hey, as always, fuck the algorithm. Tell a friend. That's right. If you like the show, tell people. If you don't like the show, tell your enemies. Why not?
Ruin an hour of their lives, please.
Can you tell them we're shopping right now? And Josh and I have reviews on Game Chronicles. Go check them out. Mark's not only the founder of the site, Mark also does reviews on the site, so go check out his work. He also does a lot. He does a lot of write-ups, so go check him out.
A lot of VR reviews up there right now.
Mark, that's right. He's the whole package, ladies and gentlemen.
He is
the man, the myth, the legend,
the VR man with the plan. He is Half-Life Alex.
I should have done this show with the headset on and passed through video. That would have been awesome.
Oh, that would have been cool.
Oh, next time we'll get him next time with the VR. Where was I? Oh yes, Alex Marvin Clark does our intro outro song called Hunt Him Down. Go check out his SoundCloud. We've got that link down to the show notes. We've also got every other link that we've mentioned down in the show notes, including Game Chronicles. Go check them out. Everybody, this has been Smashing Game Time. We hope you all had a smashing great time. We'll see each and every one of you next time.